Hey! I've always been curious about the history of Canada. Where should we start? Great question. Let's begin with the indigenous peoples who have inhabited this land for thousands of years. Before European contact, diverse cultures like the Inuit, First Nations, and Métis thrived across what is now Canada. Fascinating. And then? Fast forward to the 16th century when European explorers like Jacques Cartier arrived, marking the beginning of European influence. The French and British established colonies, leading to conflicts like the 7 Years' War. Ah, the fur trade era. Exactly. The fur trade played a pivotal role in the development of Canada. Then came the Treaty of Paris in 1763, handing Canada from France to Britain. That must have set the stage for something significant. It did. The American Revolution triggered an influx of loyalists to Canada, shaping its demographic landscape. In 1867, the British North America Act united 3 colonies into the Dominion of Canada, a self-governing entity within the British Empire. Canada's journey to independence. Indeed, the late 19th and early 20th centuries saw rapid economic development, with the completion of the Canadian Pacific Railway linking the country from coast to coast. And then World War I happened. Yes, Canada's involvement in World War I marked a turning point, earning it international recognition. The interwar period brought challenges, but the nation persevered. World War II must have been significant too. Absolutely. Canada played a crucial role in World War II, contributing significantly to the Allied efforts. The post-war era witnessed economic growth, the baby boom, and increased immigration. The Cold War era? Spot on. Canada became a key player in international diplomacy during the Cold War. In the late 20th century, constitutional changes, like the patriation of the Constitution and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, shaped modern Canada. What about recent history? Recent decades have seen Canada embracing multiculturalism, grappling with Indigenous rights, and navigating economic shifts. The 21st century brought challenges like climate change and debates over resource extraction. That's quite a journey. Canada's history is rich and complex. Absolutely, this is just a snapshot. There's so much more to explore. From Indigenous history to modern multiculturalism, Canada's story is diverse and continually evolving. I'm intrigued. Can we dive deeper into the Indigenous history of Canada? Certainly. Indigenous peoples in Canada have a rich tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions. The Inuit, First Nations, and Métis have unique histories. They thrived for thousands of years, adapting to diverse environments from the Arctic to the Pacific coast. Were there any significant events before European contact? Absolutely. The indigenous peoples had sophisticated societies with complex social structures. They engaged in trade, developed advanced agriculture, and established trade routes. The arrival of Europeans, however, brought new challenges and changes. Tell me more about the impact of European contact. With the arrival of explorers like Jacques Cartier, trade networks expanded, introducing European goods. However, this also brought diseases that devastated indigenous populations who had no immunity. European powers competed for control, leading to conflicts like the Beaver Wars among indigenous groups. That's a complex dynamic. How did this influence the colonial era? The fur trade became a central part of indigenous European relations. Indigenous peoples played a key role as middlemen, trading furs for European goods. This dynamic set the stage for alliances and conflicts. The indigenous peoples adapted to these changes, forging alliances with different European powers. What about the impact of the 7 Years' War? The 7 Years' War between Britain and France had a profound impact. The Treaty of Paris in 1763 saw France ceding Canada to Britain. This transition intensified as British policies conflicted with indigenous ways of life, leading to events like Pontiac's Rebellion. It sounds like a challenging time. What happened during the American Revolution? Loyalists, who remained loyal to Britain during the American Revolution, migrated to Canada. This migration significantly influenced the demographic makeup of Canada, especially in places like Nova Scotia and Ontario. And this ultimately led to the formation of the Dominion of Canada. Yes, the Confederation in 1867 brought together the provinces of Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia into the Dominion of Canada. This marked the beginning of a self-governing entity, but it wasn't until 1982 that Canada fully patriated its constitution from Britain. What about the economic development during this time? The completion of the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1885 was a game-changer. It connected the east and west coasts, facilitating the movement of goods and people. This development played a crucial role in the economic expansion of Canada. World War I must have had a significant impact. Absolutely. Canada's contribution to the war effort earned it recognition on the international stage. The aftermath saw changes in Canadian society, including women gaining the right to vote. What about the interwar period? The interwar years brought economic challenges, but Canada weathered the storm. The Great Depression tested the nation, but the resilience of its people laid the foundation for the economic growth that followed. I'm eager to learn more about Canada's role in World War II. Canada played a crucial role in World War II, contributing troops, resources, and industrial capacity to the Allied forces. The war effort had a profound impact on Canada's economy and society. What about the post-war era? The post-war era saw unprecedented economic growth, the baby boom, and increased immigration. Canada evolved into a modern, industrialized nation during this period. This is fascinating. What were the constitutional changes in the late 20th century? In 1982, Canada patriated its constitution, bringing the Constitution Act into force. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms became a cornerstone, guaranteeing fundamental rights and freedoms to all Canadians. And what about recent history? The 21st century has seen Canada navigating issues like climate change, Indigenous rights, and the changing global economic landscape. It continues to be a country that embraces diversity and faces contemporary challenges with resilience. Thanks for this insightful journey through Canada's history. There's so much more to explore. Absolutely. Canada's history is a rich tapestry, and there are countless stories to discover. From the Indigenous people's heritage to the challenges and triumphs of the modern era, it's a captivating journey. Let's delve deeper into the post-war era. What were some specific economic and social changes during this time? The post-war era in Canada, particularly in the late 1940s and 1950s, witnessed significant economic expansion. The country benefited from increased demand for its resources, especially during the reconstruction efforts in Europe and Asia. This economic growth led to the emergence of a robust middle class. That's interesting. How did the baby boom impact Canadian society? The end of World War II marked a notable increase in the birth rate, known as the baby boom. This demographic shift had a profound impact on Canadian society. The demand for housing, education, and healthcare surged, shaping policies and infrastructure development. Moving into the latter half of the 20th century, what were some notable social and cultural changes? The 1960s and 1970s were marked by a period of social and cultural transformation in Canada. The country witnessed a wave of social activism, the rise of the counterculture movement, and a push for greater civil rights. This era also saw the emergence of a distinct Canadian identity, fostering a sense of pride and nationalism. Were there any significant political developments during this time? Yes, the 1960s saw the election of Pierre Trudeau as Prime Minister. His leadership had a lasting impact on Canadian politics. Trudeau implemented policies such as bilingualism and multiculturalism, aiming to celebrate and preserve Canada's diverse cultural heritage. How did Canada navigate the challenges of the Cold War? During the Cold War, Canada found itself in a delicate position as a close ally of the United States, but maintaining a nuanced relationship with the Soviet Union. Canada participated in international peacekeeping missions, earning a reputation as a mediator and peacekeeper on the global stage. What about constitutional changes in the late 20th century? The process of patriating the Canadian Constitution in 1982 was a significant milestone. Before this, the Constitution was a British law, and any amendments required approval from the UK Parliament. The patriation involved bringing the Constitution to Canada and included the addition of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, a pivotal document protecting individual rights. How did Canada handle issues related to Indigenous rights during this period? The latter half of the 20th century brought increased awareness of Indigenous rights and concerns. Land claims, self-governance, and addressing historical injustices became important issues. The 1980s and 1990s saw legal battles and negotiations, laying the groundwork for the recognition of Indigenous rights in the Constitution. Moving into the 21st century, what have been some of the defining challenges and developments? The 21st century has brought its own set of challenges for Canada. Environmental issues, including climate change, have become prominent concerns. Canada has been actively working towards sustainable practices while balancing economic development. How has Canada's role in international affairs evolved? Canada has continued to play a role in international peacekeeping and diplomacy. Its participation in various UN missions, contributions to global health initiatives, and involvement in addressing conflicts around the world showcase Canada's commitment to global cooperation. It seems like Canada has undergone a dynamic evolution. How does it maintain its multicultural identity in the face of these changes? Multiculturalism has been a defining aspect of Canadian identity. Government policies have actively promoted diversity and inclusion. The emphasis on cultural pluralism, rather than assimilation, has allowed Canada to celebrate its multicultural fabric while fostering a sense of national unity. Thanks for providing a comprehensive overview. Canada's history is truly a journey of adaptation and growth. Absolutely. It's a testament to the resilience and diversity that define Canada. Exploring its history reveals not just the challenges faced but also the remarkable progress and achievements that have shaped the nation. I'm curious about Canada's economic development in the late 20th century and beyond. How did the country navigate global economic changes? In the late 20th century, Canada underwent significant economic transformations. The country diversified its economy beyond traditional sectors like agriculture and resource extraction. The service sector, technology, and manufacturing became increasingly important. Free trade agreements, such as the Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement (FTA) in 1988 and the North American Free Trade Agreement (NAFTA) in 1994, played a pivotal role in expanding trade opportunities. Those agreements must have had a profound impact. Absolutely. The FTA and NAFTA created a more integrated North American economy, fostering trade between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. While these agreements brought economic benefits, they also sparked debates over issues like job displacement and environmental concerns. How did Canada weather economic challenges, such as recessions? Canada experienced economic downturns, notably during the recessions of the early 1980s and early 1990s. The government implemented measures to stabilize the economy, including fiscal policies and social programs. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Canada saw a period of sustained economic growth, partly due to prudent fiscal management. What about the role of natural resources in Canada's economy? Natural resources have always been crucial to Canada's economy. The country is rich in minerals, forestry, and energy resources. The extraction of oil from the Alberta oil sands became a significant economic driver, but it also brought environmental concerns and debates about sustainable development. How has Canada addressed environmental issues and climate change? Canada has been actively addressing environmental concerns. Initiatives include investments in clean energy, efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and commitments to international agreements like the Paris Agreement. Balancing economic development with environmental sustainability remains a key challenge. Shifting gears a bit, what about technological advancements in Canada? Canada has made strides in technology and innovation. Cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal have become tech hubs. The Canadian government has invested in research and development, and the country has produced notable advancements in fields like artificial intelligence, aerospace, and biotechnology. I've heard about Canada's healthcare system. How has it evolved? Canada's healthcare system, often characterized by universal access, has been a cornerstone of its social policies. However, it has faced challenges, including issues like wait times and resource allocation. Discussions on healthcare reform continue, aiming to balance accessibility and efficiency. Shifting back to social and cultural aspects, how has immigration shaped Canada? Immigration has played a crucial role in Canada's development. The post-war era saw waves of immigrants, contributing to the country's cultural diversity. Canada has implemented policies to attract skilled immigrants, fostering economic growth and enriching the social fabric. And what about Indigenous rights in recent times? The 21st century has seen increased recognition of Indigenous rights and efforts towards reconciliation. Land acknowledgements, legal settlements, and initiatives to address issues like missing and murdered Indigenous women reflect a growing commitment to acknowledging historical injustices and working towards a more equitable future. It seems like Canada is continually evolving. How do you see the future unfolding? The future holds both challenges and opportunities for Canada. As the world grapples with issues like climate change, technological advancements, and social equality, Canada will likely play a role in shaping global solutions. The ongoing commitment to diversity and inclusivity will remain central to Canada's identity. Thanks for shedding light on these aspects. Canada's journey is indeed multifaceted. Absolutely. It's a fascinating exploration of a nation that has embraced change, navigated challenges, and continually redefined itself. There's always more to discover and understand about Canada's dynamic history and its ongoing contributions to the world. I'd like to explore Canada's role in international relations. How has the country positioned itself on the global stage, especially in recent times? Canada has traditionally been a proponent of multilateralism and diplomacy. The country actively participates in international organizations like the United Nations and has been involved in peacekeeping missions worldwide. In recent times, Canada has taken stands on issues such as human rights, climate change, and global health. Can you elaborate on Canada's approach to peacekeeping? Historically, Canada gained a reputation for peacekeeping during the Cold War. While the nature of peacekeeping evolved, the country remained committed to international stability. In recent years, Canada has contributed troops to UN peacekeeping missions in places like Mali and the Democratic Republic of Congo. How has Canada addressed human rights concerns? Canada has consistently advocated for human rights globally. The country takes a principled stance on issues such as democracy, freedom of expression, and equality. It actively participates in international forums to address human rights abuses and supports initiatives that promote global human rights. What about Canada's response to global health challenges? Canada has been actively engaged in addressing global health issues. The country contributes to international efforts to combat diseases, supports vaccination initiatives, and provides humanitarian aid during health crises. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the importance of global collaboration, and Canada has played a role in vaccine distribution and supporting healthcare systems in need. How does Canada balance its international commitments with domestic concerns? It's a delicate balance. Canada recognizes the interconnectedness of global issues and understands that stability abroad contributes to its own security and prosperity. At the same time, the government must address domestic priorities, economic challenges, and the diverse needs of its population. Shifting gears a bit, can you elaborate on the cultural and artistic contributions of Canada? Canada boasts a rich cultural tapestry shaped by its diverse population. In literature, iconic figures like Margaret Atwood and Alice Munro have made significant contributions. The Canadian film industry has produced acclaimed directors and actors, and the music scene, from Leonard Cohen to Drake, reflects a wide range of genres and influences. How has Canada maintained its commitment to multiculturalism? Multiculturalism is a fundamental aspect of Canada's identity. The government actively promotes policies that celebrate diversity, and there are initiatives to preserve and promote Indigenous cultures. The commitment to multiculturalism is visible in various aspects of Canadian society, from education to public spaces. Speaking of education, how has Canada's education system evolved? Canada has a robust education system that is publicly funded and provincially regulated. It places a strong emphasis on inclusivity and accessibility. The country has also become an attractive destination for international students, contributing to a globally diverse learning environment. It seems like Canada's story is not just about its past, but also about its ongoing contributions to various fields. Absolutely. Canada's history is a living narrative, and its present and future are shaped by its commitment to diversity, inclusivity, and global cooperation. The nation continues to evolve, contributing to a complex and interconnected world. There's always more to explore and understand about Canada's multifaceted journey. I'm intrigued by Canada's approach to environmental sustainability. How has the country addressed environmental issues, and what steps have been taken to combat climate change? Canada has recognized the importance of environmental sustainability and has taken steps to address environmental challenges. The country is committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions and transitioning towards a greener economy. Initiatives include investments in renewable energy, the promotion of energy efficiency, and the development of clean technologies. How significant is Canada's role in the global fight against climate change? Canada actively participates in international efforts to combat climate change. The country has set emission reduction targets and is a signatory to global agreements like the Paris Agreement. While challenges exist, Canada's commitment to addressing climate change is evident through policy measures, such as carbon pricing and investments in renewable energy projects. Shifting towards social issues, how has Canada addressed gender equality and LGBTQ+ rights? Canada has made strides in promoting gender equality and LGBTQ+ rights. Policies and legislation have been implemented to ensure equal opportunities for all. Canada legalized same-sex marriage in 2005, and ongoing efforts focus on addressing discrimination, promoting inclusivity, and creating safe spaces for diverse communities. How has the Canadian healthcare system evolved in recent times? Canada's healthcare system remains a point of pride, providing universal access to medical services. However, challenges such as wait times and resource allocation persist. Ongoing discussions involve improving the efficiency of the system while maintaining its fundamental principle of accessibility for all citizens. I'm curious about the role of technology and innovation in Canada. How has the country contributed to advancements in various fields? Canada has been a significant player in technological advancements. In the field of artificial intelligence, Canadian researchers and companies have made notable contributions. Cities like Toronto and Vancouver have become tech hubs, fostering innovation in areas like biotechnology, aerospace, and clean energy. Are there any notable social or cultural movements that have shaped recent Canadian history? Recent years have seen the rise of social movements addressing issues such as racial justice, Indigenous rights, and climate action. Movements like Idle No More advocate for Indigenous sovereignty, and youth-led movements call for urgent action on climate change. These movements highlight the active engagement of Canadians in shaping their society. How has Canada addressed the challenges and opportunities presented by immigration? Canada's immigration policies are designed to attract skilled individuals, contribute to economic growth, and foster cultural diversity. The country has implemented pathways for refugees and asylum seekers, reflecting a commitment to humanitarian values. The evolving nature of immigration policies reflects Canada's adaptability to global dynamics. Given the complexities of its history and the diversity of its population, how does Canada foster a sense of national identity? Canada's national identity is characterized by a celebration of diversity and inclusivity. The country emphasizes the importance of multiculturalism, recognizing the contributions of various communities to its social fabric. Shared values, such as respect for human rights and democratic principles, contribute to a sense of national unity. It's impressive how Canada navigates a multitude of issues while maintaining its core values. What do you think the future holds for the country? The future of Canada will likely involve continued efforts to address global challenges, promote sustainability, and adapt to evolving social dynamics. The commitment to diversity, human rights, and international collaboration will likely remain central to Canada's identity as it contributes to shaping a more inclusive and sustainable world. Thank you for providing such a comprehensive overview. Canada's journey is truly dynamic, and I appreciate the insights into its ongoing evolution. You're welcome! Exploring Canada's history and contemporary developments is a fascinating journey, and there's always more to discover about this resilient and diverse nation. If you have any more questions or specific areas you'd like to explore further, feel free to ask. I'm interested in understanding how Canada has grappled with Indigenous issues in recent times. What efforts has the country made towards reconciliation and recognizing Indigenous rights? Canada has been actively working towards reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, acknowledging historical injustices and striving for a more equitable future. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, established in 2008, played a pivotal role. Its 2015 report outlined 94 calls to action, addressing issues like education, healthcare, and justice for Indigenous communities. How have these calls to action been implemented? The implementation of the calls to action is an ongoing process. Various levels of government, Indigenous organizations, and non-profit groups are working to address these recommendations. Efforts include changes in educational curricula to better reflect Indigenous history, language, and culture, as well as initiatives to improve healthcare services and economic opportunities for Indigenous communities. Have there been any legal developments regarding Indigenous rights? Yes, legal developments have been crucial. Landmark cases, such as the Delgar v. British Columbia and the Silhouetting Nation v. British Columbia decisions, have affirmed Indigenous land rights. Additionally, the recognition of Indigenous rights in the Canadian Constitution and the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, UNDRIP, has marked significant progress. How has Canada addressed issues like missing and murdered Indigenous women? The issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls has gained national attention, leading to calls for action. The National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls concluded in 2019, presenting findings and recommendations. The government is now working towards implementing these recommendations to address violence and systemic issues affecting Indigenous women. Shifting towards economic aspects, how has Canada supported economic development in Indigenous communities? Economic development in Indigenous communities is a priority. Various programs aim to empower Indigenous entrepreneurs, support sustainable resource management, and foster economic self-sufficiency. Negotiations over resource-sharing agreements and land use are ongoing, seeking to ensure that Indigenous communities benefit from natural resource development on their traditional lands. I'm curious about the role of Indigenous self-governance. How has that evolved? Indigenous self-governance is an evolving concept. Modern treaties and self-government agreements provide Indigenous communities with more control over their affairs, including education, healthcare, and justice systems. These agreements reflect a move towards recognizing the autonomy and sovereignty of Indigenous nations within the framework of the Canadian state. Given the complexity of these issues, how has public perception and awareness changed in Canada? Public awareness and perception have undergone significant shifts. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission's work, along with ongoing discussions in the media and educational institutions, has brought greater understanding of the challenges faced by Indigenous peoples. There is growing recognition of the need for reconciliation and a commitment to addressing historical wrongs. Are there any ongoing challenges in the path towards Indigenous reconciliation? Challenges persist. Issues like unequal access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities, along with the need for meaningful engagement in decision-making processes, are ongoing concerns. Striking a balance between respecting Indigenous autonomy and incorporating their perspectives into national policies remains a complex but crucial aspect of the reconciliation process. It's clear that there's a multifaceted approach towards Indigenous reconciliation in Canada. What role does the broader public play in this process? The broader public plays a crucial role in reconciliation. Education, awareness, and fostering respectful dialogue are essential. Many Canadians are actively engaging in conversations about Indigenous rights, attending cultural events, and supporting initiatives that promote understanding and solidarity. Building a more inclusive and just society requires collective efforts. Thanks for shedding light on these important aspects of Canadian history and contemporary challenges. It's clear that addressing Indigenous issues is a multifaceted and ongoing process. Absolutely. The journey towards reconciliation is complex, but it's heartening to see the collective efforts towards understanding, recognition, and meaningful change. If you have more questions, or if there's any specific aspect you'd like to explore further, feel free to let me know. I'd like to delve deeper into Canada's international relations. How has the country navigated its relationship with the United States, particularly in recent times? Canada and the United States share one of the closest and most significant bilateral relationships globally. Recent times have seen both cooperation and challenges. Trade relations, such as the renegotiation of the North American Free Trade Agreement (NAFTA) into the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement (USMCA), have been focal points. Additionally, diplomatic collaboration on issues like climate change and security remains crucial. How have trade relations evolved between Canada and the United States? The economic ties between Canada and the United States are deeply integrated. The renegotiation of NAFTA, which concluded with the USMCA in 2018, aimed to modernize trade rules. While it brought about changes, including adjustments to the dairy sector, the agreement ensured the continuation of a robust trade relationship. Have there been any diplomatic challenges between the two countries? Diplomatic challenges have arisen on various fronts. Trade disputes, such as those involving tariffs on steel and aluminum, have tested relations. Additionally, differences in approaches to international issues, including climate change policies and certain geopolitical matters, have led to nuanced discussions. How has Canada engaged with the international community beyond its relationship with the United States? Canada actively participates in international organizations and initiatives. The country is a member of the G7 and G20, contributes to United Nations peacekeeping missions, and engages in humanitarian efforts worldwide. Canada's foreign policy emphasizes multilateralism, human rights, and global cooperation. Given the geopolitical landscape, how has Canada positioned itself on issues like human rights and democracy? Canada has consistently advocated for human rights and democracy on the global stage. The country has been vocal on issues such as freedom of expression, LGBTQ+ rights, and gender equality. Canada's diplomatic efforts often include promoting democratic values and supporting initiatives that address human rights abuses worldwide. What about Canada's involvement in international peacekeeping missions? Canada has a long history of participating in international peacekeeping missions. While the nature of peacekeeping has evolved, Canada continues to contribute troops and resources to UN missions aimed at maintaining peace and stability in conflict zones. Recent engagements include deployments in Mali and Iraq. How has Canada addressed global challenges, such as the refugee crisis and humanitarian aid? Canada has been actively involved in addressing global challenges, including the refugee crisis. The country has committed to resettling refugees and providing humanitarian aid in regions affected by conflict and disasters. These efforts align with Canada's commitment to international solidarity and compassion. I'm curious about Canada's role in addressing global health issues, especially in light of recent events like the COVID-19 pandemic. Canada has played a role in addressing global health challenges. The country has contributed to international initiatives for vaccine distribution, supported healthcare infrastructure in developing nations, and participated in collaborative efforts to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Canada's commitment to global health security is evident through its engagement with international organizations like the World Health Organization, WHO. How has Canada approached cybersecurity and digital diplomacy in the modern era? Cybersecurity and digital diplomacy have become increasingly important aspects of international relations. Canada has developed strategies to address cybersecurity threats, protect critical infrastructure, and promote responsible digital behavior. Digital diplomacy involves using technology to engage with foreign audiences, promote Canada's values, and advance its interests on the global stage. It's clear that Canada's role on the international stage is multifaceted. How does the country balance its national interests with its global responsibilities? Balancing national interests with global responsibilities is a delicate task. Canada's foreign policy aims to safeguard its national interests while contributing to global stability and cooperation. This involves strategic alliances, active participation in international organizations, and diplomatic engagement to address shared challenges. Thanks for providing insights into Canada's international relations. It's evident that the country plays a dynamic role in the global arena. Absolutely. Canada's approach to international relations reflects its commitment to diplomacy, cooperation, and addressing global challenges. If you have more questions or specific areas you'd like to explore further, feel free to let me know. Let's shift our focus a bit and explore Canada's role in the realm of technology and innovation. How has the country contributed to advancements in fields like artificial intelligence, AI? Canada has emerged as a significant player in the field of artificial intelligence. The country has produced world-renowned researchers, and institutions like the University of Toronto and the Montreal Institute for Learning Algorithms, (MILA), have become global hubs for AI research. Canadian companies are actively involved in developing AI technologies, making notable contributions to areas like natural language processing, machine learning, and robotics. How has Canada fostered an environment conducive to technological innovation? Canada has implemented policies and initiatives to encourage technological innovation. The government provides support for research and development through grants and incentives. Startup ecosystems in cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal have flourished, attracting talent and investment. The emphasis on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education also contributes to a skilled workforce. Beyond AI, what other technological advancements has Canada been involved in? Canada is actively involved in various technological sectors. In aerospace, the country has a strong presence with companies contributing to the development of aviation and space technologies. The biotechnology industry is thriving, with innovations in areas such as genomics and medical research. Additionally, clean energy technologies and sustainable practices are areas where Canada continues to make advancements. How has the Canadian government supported clean energy initiatives? Canada has made commitments to address climate change and promote clean energy. Government initiatives include investments in renewable energy projects, incentives for clean technology development, and efforts to transition towards a low-carbon economy. The focus on clean energy aligns with global efforts to mitigate the impact of climate change. I'm curious about the role of Canadian cities in technological innovation. How have urban centers contributed to advancements? Canadian cities have played a crucial role in fostering technological innovation. Toronto, for example, has become a major tech hub, hosting a variety of startups and multinational tech companies. Vancouver has seen advancements in areas like sustainable technology, while Montreal has excelled in AI research. The collaborative and diverse urban environments contribute to a culture of innovation. Are there any government initiatives to support the growth of technology and innovation in Canada? The Canadian government has implemented various initiatives to support technology and innovation. Programs like the Strategic Innovation Fund provide funding for research and development projects. There are also tax incentives for businesses engaged in innovation, along with initiatives to attract and retain skilled international talent in the technology sector. Shifting gears, how has Canada addressed cultural and artistic contributions in recent times? Canada has a vibrant cultural and artistic scene. The government actively supports the arts through grants, cultural programs, and initiatives. Canadian literature, film, music, and visual arts have gained international recognition. The celebration of diverse voices and perspectives is evident in the country's cultural policies. I've heard about the Canadian film industry. How has it evolved, and what notable contributions has it made? The Canadian film industry has undergone significant growth and transformation. Filmmakers have gained acclaim at international film festivals, and Canadian productions have garnered awards. The industry reflects a diversity of narratives, addressing both local and global themes. Government funding and support for the arts have played a role in nurturing cinematic talent. In the realm of literature, are there any prominent Canadian authors or literary movements in recent times? Canada has produced a wealth of literary talent. Authors like Margaret Atwood, known for works like The Handmaid's Tale, and Yann Martel, author of Life of Pi, have gained international acclaim. Literary movements, such as the exploration of Indigenous literature and voices, contribute to the rich tapestry of Canadian literature. Given the multicultural nature of Canada, how has the government supported and promoted diverse cultural expressions? Canada's commitment to multiculturalism is reflected in its cultural policies. Government initiatives support the preservation and promotion of diverse cultural expressions. Festivals, cultural events, and community programs celebrate the contributions of various ethnic, linguistic, and artistic communities, fostering a sense of unity and diversity. How has Canada approached education and its role in fostering innovation and cultural understanding? Canada places a strong emphasis on education as a catalyst for innovation and cultural understanding. The education system is designed to promote critical thinking, creativity, and inclusivity. Efforts are made to incorporate diverse perspectives into curricula, fostering a learning environment that prepares students for a globalized and technologically advanced world. It's fascinating to see how Canada is contributing to advancements in various fields. If there's anything more you'd like to share about Canada's technological, artistic, or cultural landscape, I'd love to learn more. Absolutely! Canada's dynamic contributions to technology, innovation, and the arts continue to shape its identity on the global stage. If you have specific areas you'd like to explore further, or if there are particular aspects you're curious about, feel free to let me know. Let's explore Canada's healthcare system in more detail. How does the country provide universal healthcare, and what are some of the challenges it faces in this regard? Canada's healthcare system is known for its universality, ensuring that all residents have access to necessary medical services. The system is publicly funded and administered by individual provinces and territories. However, challenges include issues like wait times for certain procedures, resource allocation, and the need for ongoing healthcare reforms to address evolving demographics and medical technologies. How does Canada address issues related to mental health within its healthcare system? Mental health has become a growing focus within Canada's healthcare system. Efforts include increasing awareness, reducing stigma, and expanding access to mental health services. While progress has been made, challenges remain, including the need for more resources, improved integration of mental health into primary care, and addressing disparities in access to services across different regions. I've heard about the role of telemedicine, especially in recent times. How has Canada incorporated telehealth into its healthcare services? Telehealth has gained prominence in Canada, particularly in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Virtual consultations, remote monitoring, and telemedicine technologies have been utilized to enhance healthcare accessibility, especially in remote or underserved areas. The integration of telehealth services has the potential to improve patient outcomes and increase efficiency within the healthcare system. Shifting towards social issues, how has Canada approached matters of gender equality and LGBTQ+ rights? Canada has made strides in promoting gender equality and LGBTQ+ rights. Legislation has been enacted to protect individuals from discrimination based on gender identity or sexual orientation. Efforts to address gender-based violence, promote diversity and inclusion, and advance LGBTQ+ rights have been ongoing, signaling a commitment to fostering an equitable and inclusive society. I'm curious about Canada's response to immigration and how it manages its diverse population. Canada's approach to immigration is guided by policies that seek to attract skilled individuals, contribute to economic growth, and celebrate cultural diversity. The points-based immigration system prioritizes factors such as education, language proficiency, and work experience. Government initiatives also focus on successful integration, ensuring that newcomers have the support they need to become active members of Canadian society. How has Canada addressed issues related to racial and ethnic diversity, particularly in recent times? Canada acknowledges the importance of addressing racial and ethnic diversity. Efforts include initiatives to combat racism, promote inclusion, and address systemic inequalities. Public discourse on these issues has increased, leading to discussions about the experiences of racial and ethnic minorities in Canada and the need for ongoing efforts to build a more equitable society. I'm interested in the role of Indigenous peoples in Canada's social fabric. How has the country approached Indigenous rights and cultural preservation? Recognizing and addressing Indigenous rights is a crucial aspect of Canada's social policies. Efforts towards reconciliation, as highlighted by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, include acknowledging historical wrongs, negotiating land claims, and supporting initiatives that promote Indigenous languages, cultures, and self-governance. There is ongoing work to build respectful and collaborative relationships with Indigenous communities. Shifting towards the economic landscape, how has Canada navigated global economic changes, especially in recent decades? Canada has experienced economic shifts, diversifying beyond traditional sectors like resource extraction. Free trade agreements, such as NAFTA and the more recent USMCA, have shaped Canada's economic relationships. The country has also invested in technology, services, and clean energy, reflecting a commitment to adaptability in the face of global economic changes. How has Canada addressed income inequality and social welfare? Canada has social welfare programs aimed at reducing income inequality and supporting those in need. Progressive taxation, healthcare services, and social assistance programs contribute to a social safety net. However, challenges persist, and ongoing efforts are made to address issues like affordable housing, access to education, and income disparities across different demographics. Given the recent global events, how has Canada responded to challenges such as the COVID-19 pandemic? Canada's response to the COVID-19 pandemic involved a combination of public health measures, economic support programs, and vaccine distribution efforts. The government implemented various financial aid packages to support individuals and businesses affected by the pandemic. The vaccination rollout has been a significant focus, aiming to achieve widespread immunity and facilitate the recovery of the economy. How has Canada addressed environmental issues and sustainable development? Canada has committed to addressing environmental challenges, including climate change. Efforts involve transitioning towards renewable energy, implementing carbon pricing mechanisms, and participating in global initiatives such as the Paris Agreement. Balancing economic development with environmental sustainability remains a key focus, with ongoing initiatives to reduce emissions and promote conservation. It's clear that Canada faces a wide array of challenges and opportunities across social, economic, and environmental domains. If there's anything specific you'd like to explore further, or if you have additional questions, feel free to let me know. Absolutely! Canada's dynamic and evolving landscape offers numerous avenues for exploration. If there are specific areas of interest, or if you have more questions, I'm here to provide further insights.